Hey guys, what's going on? So, I decided randomly that I was going to do a video today. Which means that I don't exactly know what it is I'm going to say. So, cope with me here for a minute. Okay. So I really just wanted to address and talk about fear. Because I don't know if you've looked outside recently, but shit's getting crazy, right? So, I just know that a lot of people are dealing with a lot of fear, and a lot of uncertainty with what's going on and not really knowing what to do next. Um, and one of the things that I like to talk about, on my videos, in fact, pretty much the only thing I like to talk about are really ways to make your life better. And I don't think that that should stop because of the apocalypse. Just kidding. It's not the apocalypse. But just because things get really crazy, I know that there are a lot of people who are afraid right now. Um, and I'm not trying to make light of it. But I am trying to lighten the mood. Does that make sense? Right? Like I'm not dismissing it. Um, but I do think that there's a certain amount of lightheartedness that can happen, that kind of helps people to maybe look at it from a different perspective. Okay. Um, So, one of the ways, when we're talking about bettering ourselves and really kind of moving towards that is also um, looking inward to see kind of what we're struggling with, right? And also dealing with our mental health. Okay. So, this is the situation that we're in right now, in which probably the last thing that's going to be on people's minds, um, are other people's mental health and our own mental health, right? So we've kind of entered this place of panic, okay? And just a general sense of anxiety and unsettling. And as a whole, like just people in general, right? Things are getting crazy. And the irony being that like we have, one side of people who are um terrified, right? Like panicking and freaking out. And then on this other side, we have these people who are pretending nothing's happening, right? So on this side, we have the apocalypse, and on this side, we have nothing. Like people are just like, this is crazy. I can't believe people are freaking out about all of this, right? When the reality is, the best place to be is a happy medium, right? A place where you're still being prepared, but you're also not panicking. Okay. And I wanted to talk a little bit in regards to our mental health about fear, okay, and our relationship to it. And I've made a couple of videos and they were really long, and so I'm trying really hard not to make this one that long. Um, but I do think that it's important to talk about because fear is such a huge issue right now. And I think that it's important to look at what it is and why people are reacting the way that they are and what to do about it now. What do you do about your fear? Okay. So I wanted to start kind of by talking about what fear is, what anxiety is, what, panic even is, like why do we act this way? And there was a period of time in my life, right, that I struggled with anxiety, like deep level anxiety. And I don't want to get into it because it's kind of what made my videos before it really long. If you're curious, like I can definitely like let you know. But long story short, it was to the point where it was manifesting in my life physically, like I couldn't breathe and I couldn't think, except I also couldn't stop thinking, and it was just general chaos in my head all the time, right? So what anxiety is, what it does is it makes you think of every possible scenario that is out there, everything that could happen, everything that could go wrong, while at the same time coming up with solutions and ways to handle it and ways to deal with it. And then that kind of spurs on another, like, what if this happens? What if this happens? And then more solutions. And then it just kind of builds, and it doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop. And so then you have people who don't deal with anxiety and they're like, why can't you just stop? Why can't you just think about something else? Why can't you just do something else? Why are you so afraid? And the reality is people who struggle with anxiety they can't control it. They can't make it stop. I could not make it stop. Like, I don't know how else to say that except I couldn't make it stop. And it's really frustrating and debilitating, and it's really exhausting. It's so exhausting. It just takes a toll on you because it's literally like your brain is living through each of these things that you're thinking about and surviving it and then storing it away for further information for later, right? So because your brain can't actually always tell when something is happening for real and when it's happening or when it's just in your head, right? I don't know if most people know that, but to me, knowing that was really, really beneficial in me looking at my life and being like, whoa, what am I thinking about? What am I putting in my brain? Those kinds of things, as my mom always says, garbage in, garbage out, right? And that's just kind of a random side note. But yeah, no, seriously, like your brain can't always distinguish whether something's happening for real or not. So every time that you play out one of these scenarios in your head, it's going through it as if it's happening in your life. And that's really important to point out, both for people who are struggling with the anxiety and for the people who don't understand anxiety. Okay. So, what is it? Like, what is fear? What is anxiety? What is all of this? Um, when I was going through all of that, I spent a lot of time doing research because that's how I deal with things. Like, I want to know why my brain is working the way it is, why it's behaving this way, and what do I do about it? And so I had found that a lot of people think that there's a certain amount of like superhuman capabilities in people who have anxiety because of the way their brains are processing the information and the possibility of things that are happening and being able to come up with solutions, right? And I know people with anxiety, you don't feel like it's a superhuman ability. You don't, and I'm not saying like everybody with anxiety is like superhuman and super cool, but at the same time, there is a lesson to be learned there, right? And it's a lesson about what fear is, because what it comes down to it's all primal instinct, right? It is your instinct of knowing that something is wrong and something doesn't feel right, and you need to know what to do next so that you can act on it, right? That's what anxiety is. That's what fear is. It's natural, it is your survival instinct. And a lot of people are tapping into that right now. Okay. And that's really important to understand, because when you see the way that things are and when you see the way the government is behaving and when you hear the things that the media are saying, right, people are going to react to it. And the real question is, can you blame them? A lot of people are really annoyed with the way that people have reacted and responded, and they're going around calling people stupid. But the reality is they're doing what their brains are naturally telling them to do, and that is to find resources and to find ways to handle it and basically solutions, right? Because that's what fear does. It can be debilitating, but it can also push you into action. And I think that's really important for people to understand, right? So I definitely wanted to touch base about what fear is. And I wanted there to be a sense of empathy to kind of come from people who are like, why are people acting this way? Because it doesn't matter if you think they're stupid. They're acting this way for a reason. And in the end, it's going to come down to who is prepared and who's not, if it comes down to the worst case scenario. Okay. And so it's really interesting. I love to kind of watch to see how things are unfolding with people. Okay. So initially you had this spark of fear. Okay. And it's not going to stop. And more things are happening to cause more fear and more panic. Okay. So what I'm seeing is these people who went out and stocked up on stuff. Okay. And I mean, honestly, I don't know if it's those people, but generally what I'm seeing is people are like, hey, if you can't feed your kid, I know that they get their meals at school, I will feed your kids. you know, hey, we've started this group over here and we're going to come together and we're just going to kind of all encompassing, just help each other. If you need help, let us know on here. If you have ways that you can help, there are people posting notes on doors in their neighborhood saying, hey, I can help, like, so amazing. It's so beautiful. Like, out of this chaotic, crazy mess, there are people who are stepping up to the plate and really just kind of coming together, and it's creating a sense of community that we didn't have before. Because here's the thing with a a community who doesn't have like needs, who isn't living in fear, they're not going to band together. They don't really have a reason to. I mean, sure, you meet at the park for play dates, and if you need somebody to watch your kids, you're going to find somebody who can watch your kids. There are little ways that people help each other. This is different. This is like, I don't know what it is, but it's awesome. And I'm loving to see it. Like, I know it's a scary time right now, but I love to see how people are coming together. I love to see how they're finding ways to help each other, how they're finding ways to be there for each other, even if they can't be in the same house, right? It's this beautiful thing that's happening if you pay attention to it. And it's really important. I think that it's a really important aspect to what's happening. And that will be, no matter what happens, that will be the legacy of the people, and how they came together. And so, just in light of what fear is and what it's doing to us, I just think it's really important to kind of look at that aspect as well. So we know what fear is, we know how it's making people react, but we also see this awesome, beautiful thing coming out of it, right? The last thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, was what to do if you're feeling afraid. Right now, there is a lot of fear. Like, I was walking through a grocery store, getting my groceries, and like, I could just look at people and just know that they were afraid, right? Just like that quick eye contact. And it was not like a loud fear, right? Right now things are still pretty stable where I live, but it's very like quiet fear, like you can feel it. And I know that there's a lot of fear out there. I know especially that there are people who are kind of trapped inside, who are afraid of this virus, and they have a right to be. And they're just kind of afraid of the general state of the world. And so I kind of just wanted to like talk about how to handle these fears, right? Because again, this gets down to your mental health and how you are able to cope with it. Living in a constant state of fear and in a constant state of stress is only going to make things worse. Okay. And it sucks because it doesn't help to say, because some people can't stop their brains. Most people can't. Like, I still have anxiety, and there are still moments where I can't stop it. Like, I can't make it stop. But it's important to find ways that are going to work for you to try to make it better. Okay. Because stress and anxiety are only going to lower your immune system, and you're expending so much energy fighting off these fears, and figuring out how to deal with them, that your body isn't focused on defending itself, right? That's how I look at it anyway. I don't know if that's actually what happens, but that's what it feels like. And I think that it's important to find ways to cope with that. So what are some ways to do that? My number one thing is to turn off the news. Turn it off. It doesn't matter what you think about the media. I'm not here to get political, but they aren't helping the situation. Turn off the news. I know that you're waiting for updates and you want to know what's happening and you want to stay informed and you want to stay active in knowing, but the reality is that things are going to move as they move, whether you're watching the news or not. You can still be informed. Allow yourself a certain amount of time a day to be informed, and then turn off the news. Step number 2, go outside. Get out there. Even if it's just stepping out into the balcony. I know like there's this fear of like, if people step outside, if they even look at each other, right, that they're going to get infected. And that's not going to happen, right? Go outside, step out onto your porch, step out into the sunlight and look at the sun and breathe. Just take in those natural breaths. Allow yourself to be part of the earth right now. I know that sounds very hippie-ish, but connect with your natural state of being. Get out there and breathe and feel the air and feel the warmth of the sun, and even if it's just for a couple minutes at a time, and then go back inside. Although, tips from an introvert: take a book outside, sit under a tree. You don't have to talk to anybody. That tree probably doesn't have coronavirus on it, and sit there and read. Get out of your house. Just because you can't be around people doesn't mean you can't get out of your house. Okay. And then I think step number 3 are finding things that are going to keep your mind busy. Not just shows and TV, those are always good. And an introvert will always tell you that Netflix binging is everything. I have a list of shows. If you want shows to watch, I got them. Just message me. Maybe I'll just put a list out there of awesome shows. I'm a big fan of shows, side note. But anyway, all that aside, shows, movies, games, like video games, right? Who doesn't want to, shoot each other on some Call of Duty? Sounds kind of fun, right? Maybe not. But also having like small community events, even if you can't be in the same room. I think there's a lot of places that are doing like virtual meetings type things, which is really cool. It's important to stay connected, right? And when you can, be with your family, as often as you can. All of those are really important. Play games, even board games, but my biggest thing is turn off the TV, get off social media, and just allow yourself to be, and breathe as much as you can. Just breathe. I just, the level of fear that people have, it's really like, it's heavy. Like I can feel it, and it just kills me, and I'm not saying that there isn't a right to be scared. And I think that was part of my thing, is like, I just think that it's okay for people to be afraid. It's okay. I think that's the first step, is just realizing that it's okay, and that emotion exists for a reason. And there's no reason to fight it. I will never be that person that tells you to just get rid of everything dark within you. That's not how the world works. That's a conversation for another time. But accept fear for what it is, because it's important to what you need to do to take care of yourself. So this is not much shorter than the other videos. I guess it's just meant to be a long message. So if you have time, if you have had the time, thank you for listening. And I hope that everybody is safe. And if you need anything, if you need to talk, then message me. And if you need anything outside of that, also message me. If you don't have connections to the groups and the communities, I can get those connections for you. So just let me know. Okay. And I'm going to end this. Okay. I will talk to you guys later. I hope that you guys all stay safe, and that you all stay healthy, and that everybody stays calm. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.